All right, so again, as I've stated, I'm Rick Rivera. I'm the EMEA Sales Manager for CADlink. And the webinar I'll be covering today is going to be on our visual print positioning product. Okay, this is a optional item for our DTG as well as our Digital Factory UV products. Okay. So as you can see here, I have the three major ones here, the Epson Brother, Ricoh. All of the machines are going to follow the exact same workflow. Okay, the only difference between the three devices are basically going to be platen sizes, more or less. They're basically the same, but they're not exact. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is set up and calibrate our camera system, okay, our camera setup. So when you have Digital Factory open, first thing we want to do is go to Tools, Options, and in the Options window, if you have the VPP module installed, okay, so if you have the visual print positioning module installed, you will have this last item here called camera. Also, if you download our trial product, our 15-day trial product, so if you're working with our trial product, we do include the VPP in there so you can actually preview it and work with it prior to actually purchasing it. Okay. So first thing we want to do is, let me just go ahead and click on our camera option here. Okay. Now in the camera option, we want to add a new camera. So we go ahead and click on the little plus. Here it's going to go ahead and reach out and talk to our camera. I have my camera on an extension, so it might be a little bit more delayed than normal. As far as the camera is concerned, it could be any USB webcam. So it could be any type of webcam. If it's an SLR type camera, as long as it can be seen by the Windows camera app, it will also work in Digital Factory. And here we go. Okay. So basically what I've done here is I've kind of mock configured a platen. So here it's all simulation because unfortunately here in my home office I don't have a DTG device, but here we can simulate. So this will be my adult platen simulated here. Okay. And I've got my camera positioned over it. The position of the camera doesn't matter. The position can be over it in kind of a reverse fashion, in front of it, could be to the side, looking at it from the side. It doesn't really matter because when we go into the actual calibration, depending on the points, it will automatically orient our screen to the appropriate layout. So that's a really nice feature of our product. So as you can see here, my camera, I'm using the Logitech HD Pro webcam. And what we want to do is give it a name. Now here you can go in and make some adjustments here, but typically the default settings should be fine. Okay. You shouldn't really have to mess with it. But again, you do have those options available. So we're going to go ahead and call this VPP demo. I'm going to go ahead and add that camera. And what you'll see is now that it's listed in my camera list. Okay. So what we're going to do is go ahead and save and close that. Now we actually have our cues, and what we need to do is configure the cue. for the camera. So if we double click on the queue, okay, the queue I recommend to start with is the white graphics queue, because we are going to need to load a white t-shirt to be able to print our calibration pattern. Okay. So it's very important that you have a white t-shirt loaded. We're going to use the white graphics queue to start with. Okay. And in the media setup, okay, in the media setup, this is where we're going to configure our camera. Okay. So in the camera, we've already set it up in our options. So all we have to do is go ahead and select our camera here. And that's it. Okay. Select our platen. When you do the calibration, what I typically recommend is using the largest platen you have available to do the initial calibration. Now, once you've done that initial calibration, if you switch from the adult platen to a child platen, because everything's centered, we don't have to recalibrate for each platen size. Okay, so the best method is to calibrate to the largest platen that you have. Okay, and we'll go ahead and click OK. And what we have here over here on the right hand side is our preview window. And now what we'll have, if we've configured our camera correctly, we now have this calibrate camera feature here, this button. And this will allow us to calibrate our camera. Okay. Now the first step is to print the calibration image. Okay. Now when you do that, it's going to automatically import the calibration file in to our queue. Okay. We don't want to resize this or anything. You want to leave this as is, and then you want to go ahead and send that to print. Okay. So the printer is going to go ahead and print this file out onto your t-shirt. And once it's done, we can then get ready to calibrate. So let me get my calibration sheet here set up. All right. So now that I've done that, we are going to go back to our calibrate screen and calibrate the camera. Okay, again, it's going to go out, talk to my camera. And we'll give it a second here. All right, so as you can see here, let me go ahead and increase my screen here. Okay, I've got my simulated template here. Now, if you see, you can actually see it live preview there. My finger pop in there to adjust the page. So now, as you notice here, it's rotated 180. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. Okay, so the next step, when you're previewing this, you want to make sure that the camera actually sees the entire platen area. Not just the printing area, but the entire platen area. And then we're going to go to next. And don't worry if the image isn't printed at the actual full platen size. Not a huge issue, okay? So we're going to go ahead and click next. And should bring up my calibration page. There we go. So now it brings up our camera calibration screen. Now I'm going to go ahead and click reset here because I was working with this earlier today, but I'm going to go ahead and reset this. This is going to reset all my calibration points. Now we have 3 levels of accuracy that we can set up. Okay. For basic stuff, I mean, 5-point registration might do the trick. But if you get a lot of pin cushioning or convex of the image, things like that, you could increase the level. So basically all we do is just from this left corner here, just simply drag and drop to the numbers, okay? And what we want to do is we want to position these as best we can in the corners. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get the first one down in there. We'll get the second one in here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and place all these. Actually, I'll just go ahead and toss them in here, and then we can go ahead and adjust them. And what you'll see is to the right, it'll actually show your adjustment screen. Now you notice that it is a little bit kind of bowed here. So I may need a little bit more calibration. So again, if I go in here and kind of adjust my points, okay, it's a little better, but I could use a little bit more accuracy. So what I'll do is I'll go to level 2, okay, and then we'll go ahead and drop in 6, 7, 8, and 9. And again, we'll go ahead and tweak these. 6, 7, 9, and 8 is up here. Okay, so again, don't worry about if it's visually upside down here. If you notice to the right, it's actually in the correct position. And again, if we want better accuracy, we can go to level 3. Now, if we go to level 3 and do the precision calibration here, it should give us a really good calibration of within about 1 millimeter of error. Okay, so again, we'll go in here, fix that one, and you can zoom in to kind of dial it in. So I'm just using the mouse on my the wheel on my mouse to kind of zoom in and zoom out. And there you go. They've got my 3 levels of accuracy. Okay, so here it looks good. Okay, the red lines are overlapping the black, which is what we want, as well as the red cross and the circle, the red overlapping the black. Now, once that's done, we can go ahead and click apply. It's going to apply it to our cue. And at this point, in all of the other cues that I have, all I have to do is select that camera system now. So all I have to do is configure it in one cue, and in the other cues, just simply select my camera that's being used. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and get rid of this image. And if I toggle, okay, so I can actually toggle my background image. This is now the background image that I have. Okay. And have my table area here. Okay, so I can actually toggle that on or off if I want grid lines. Actually, there we go. So I can actually toggle my background image on and off. If I want to update the image at any time, I can take a screenshot, a capture of the table. Okay, so if I I'm going to stick something on here for now. Let's see what I have here. On here. Okay, so as an example, if I have a shirt on here, right, and I put a pocket up here in the corner. All right, so if I put a sheet of paper on there, I just put a little post-it on there, and I'm going to update my image. And as long as I don't move the camera or anything, once you've calibrated it, you shouldn't have to go back in and calibrate it. The only time you have to go back in and recalibrate is if the camera moved or if you change position of the machine or something like that. So what I'm doing now is doing a capture of the table. Okay, so basically this is the post-it that's on my table. Okay, so if for instance this was a pocket or pocket tee or something like that, and I want to put an image directly on that pocket, okay, when I go in and import my image, okay, I can import that image. Let me get rid of I can import that image, place it exactly where I need it. Okay, so I can actually take my image now, place it exactly where I want it, and print, knowing that it's going to print in the exact spot where I want it. Okay, so that would be an example if I had a simple pocket that I wanted to print on. Okay, so if you wanted to take another image, put one image at top and another one at the bottom to kind of split the image up, you could do that as well. So there's a couple of things, some cool features that you can do with this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is actually put a shirt on my table and demonstrate pretty much how this would work. So again, this is just a simulation. So I'm going to go ahead and update my image again. Okay, and I've got a shirt on the table here with a pocket. We'll go ahead and let this update. All right, so there's my shirt. Here's my pocket here. Okay, so now this is a black shirt, and what I could do is I can actually go to my black graphics queue. Okay, go to my black graphics queue. I can open that, go to my media setup, set my camera here. Okay, so here's my platen. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and update my image here in this queue. So this again, to take a screenshot. There we go. So there's our black cube. There's my shirt, and there's my pocket. So I want to put an image right here. So I'll go ahead and I want to find something here with black. We'll do the illusions here. Okay, so I can go ahead and take that image, resize it. Okay, now this image does have the knock me blackout automatically applied to it. Okay, so this is going to knock out the black and use the shirt as the black area. Okay, so if you notice in here, this area where it's supposed to be pure black, it's actually going to use the shirt for the black. Okay, and again, I could take this, reposition it. We will have in the next release, which should be in a couple of weeks, we will have the capability of rotating the image slightly. Okay, so if it's slightly at an angle, you'll be able to adjust for that. Okay. So that's pretty much the camera configuration and its use. So basically what you're doing is taking a snapshot of the table, import your image, place it where you want to. Okay. Now the next thing is how to set up a new template. So let me go ahead and remove this. I'm going to show you how to set up a new template. Okay. So if we want to set up a new template, what we could do is go to Devices and Manage Print Media. Okay. So if you have a custom made platen, for instance, made for, I don't know, koozies or something like that. Well, here we've got coasters, but say you have like those beer koozies I've seen, and you have a custom setup for that, a jig where it's going to set that up centered on your table on the bracket. Okay, what we could do is we can configure a new template for that. Okay, so what you do is you click on the add button there, create template media, and here we could call it wine koozie. Okay. Now we could create a custom size, which I probably would recommend. Just create a custom size. You could also base it off, the platen size as well. So you could create a custom size here. Okay. Well, we could go with the custom size. And let's see. Figure we'll do something. This will be maybe if it's a wine koozie or a mug koozie or something like that. For a can, we can do maybe the width. My print width maybe is going to be, we'll say 8 centimeters, and my height is going to be, let's say 12. We'll just make this up as we go. Okay, so what we've done is created actually we'll call this beer koozie for a beer can. So 8 by 12. All right. So we have our template here, and what we want to do is add a slot to that where we're going to import our image. So we're going to go ahead and click add. We're going to create the size of our koozie, so it can be the same size as the page size itself, or we can make it a little bit smaller. So we'll go 7.5 7.75 by 11.75. And the scaling, we can set our scaling to leave it as is, scale to fit only if larger, or scale to fit always. So this is a user preference. I'm going to use scale to fit always. We're not going to rotate. The alignment, I want it centered, and we don't need to mirror this. Okay. So at this point, we'll go ahead and click Save. Now, if you notice, it's not dead center. Okay. So what I can do is select it, click Change, and I want to, let's see, we did 0.25, so 0.12 and 0.12. That's centered. All right, so that's going to center it in my template now. So if I have that physical template that mounts on my machine for a beer koozie and it's centered on the table, this should be dead on, okay? So if you have a custom template built or you custom fabricate your own templates, you can custom fabricate your own templates within Digital Factory to fit your need, okay? So you don't have to use like a default platen size and try to figure out where the image is going to be or whatnot. So we'll go ahead and save this. And now you'll see that we now have this beer koozie. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I'm going to go back to my white graphics queue here, and we're going to go ahead and select my beer koozie. So now I've got this beer koozie template. Okay, so at this point, I can take and import my file to place on this beer koozie. So we'll say, no, we'll do this one, this Mahi. Okay, and what I can do is get rid of the background image. So that way I'm just looking at the platen itself. Okay, and there you have it. So it's automatically resized to that. Okay, so if I bring in another image, I think these are, yeah, this one's a little smaller. If I bring this one in, it's going to resize to the template. Okay, so this is very useful if you want to automate some of your processes with the DTG printers. Okay, so unlike the other programs out there where you have to go in and you have to manually resize it each and every time, we could create these templates where it's going to resize it automatically to our need. Okay, all right, so that pretty much covers template usage. Okay, the beauty of this also is templates can be used for production. So if you're using hot folders, if you're using a hot folder workflow, create a custom queue for that, create a hot folder for it. You can drop jobs into that hot folder and it will automatically process based on your specifications. We also work with barcode. So you could have a barcode scanner, scan the barcode, it'll call up that job from that queue, and it'll process it as you specify. So it'll process it to either rip and print, or rip and hold. Okay. Now, the final item I want to show here is our clipping to template. Okay, this is going to be our clipping to template. So the example for this is a shoe. Okay, say I want to print on a shoe. Right now, if you're using Graphics Lab or Garment Creator or AnaRip or any other rip on the market, you have to create a template, but that template has to be a rectangle. All right, so it has to be a rectangle, meaning that you got to place a bunch of tape all over the shoe, and you're going to print off the shoe, basically bleed onto the tape, which is going to waste ink. And then you've also got a lot of, the cleanup afterwards, getting all that, you're going to have wasted ink in the end. Okay. So what we have is we have this feature that we can actually take the shape of the shoe, take a photo of it, for instance, bring it into Corel or Illustrator, or if you have our Sign Lab product, bring it in there. And what you could do is you could create the actual outline, a vector outline. I created one earlier. Let me see where we're at here. Actually, where did we go here? File. My shoe template. There we go. All right, so we'll bring my Corel Draw screen here. All right, so this is a shoe template that I created. So basically I have the image of the shoe, and I just kind of created this gray background to give it the contrast so I can outline it better. And what you could do is using your pointer tools, your freehand tools, is create this outline of the shoe. Okay. Now, once you've created the outline of the shoe, okay, what you would then do is take that outline and you would export it, and you would want to export it as a PLT HPGL plotter file, okay, basically an outline. Okay, so what you're going to do is give it a name and you're going to export it. Now, when you export it, you want to export it to the C drive, your digital factory folder, and in that folder, you're going to have a folder called Cut Patterns. Now, if you don't see that folder, you could just create a folder called Cut Patterns, exactly the way you see it here, all one word, Cut Patterns. Doesn't matter if it's uppercase C or not, but it does need to be all one word, Cut Patterns, okay? And that's where you would copy your template. Okay, so I already created one here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move that out of the way. And what we're going to do is create a template. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my white graphics. I could go to my media setup, or I can go to my manage print media. Either way, does not matter. Okay, and we're going to go to our media setup. Okay, and what we're going to do is I'm going to base this off my adult platen. Okay, so here's my adult platen. And I'm going to make a copy of that. Okay. And once I've created a copy of that, okay, here I have the template already configured. Okay, so I'm going to select this template and I'm going to go and change my settings. Okay, the only thing I'm going to change here is the scaling. I'm going to do leave as, because I want to scale the image to the shoe. No rotation. I want it centered on the image, and no mirroring. Then what we do is add a custom cut pattern. The pattern that we're going to select is that shoe pattern. The scaling, we're going to leave as is. Rotation, none. And mirroring, you may need to mirror it or not. This is going to be once you import it, if you notice that it's not the right position, then you would need to mirror it. I already know that I need to mirror mine horizontally. So we'll go ahead and click Save. Okay, now I've already got another one already done here, so we'll go ahead and select that one and click OK. Now, if you notice here, I've got my platen with a shape of the shoe, the outline. Again, I'm going to go back to my my template here, my virtual table, as you can see. I'm going to position this. Let me make sure I got it kind of positioned where I had it. All right, so I've got a virtual sneaker on my table. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on my background preview. I'm going to update my background image. Again, it's going to take a screenshot of the table. So basically, if I have my shoe platen on the machine, have the shoe mounted, obviously you could place tape around the edge just to make sure you don't get any overspray. But using this method is definitely going to save you a lot of ink, because you're not going to be printing off the edge of the page. So you notice here I have this shoe here. Okay, so there's my shoe. So now I'm going to go ahead and import my graphic. So I'm going to import this one here. I created one earlier with the cool pattern. So we'll go ahead, take that, rotate it. Let me zoom in. Now, obviously, I have a piece of paper on the table representing the shoes, so the alignment is not dead on. But if I tweak it a little bit, I can get it right on there. So let me adjust it just a little bit here. So I adjusted it a little bit. So if I go ahead and update my background image, it'll actually show me the shoe again, repositioned. Hopefully I positioned it in the right direction. Okay. But again, if you have a shoe platen that's centered onto the table, you shouldn't have this alignment issue that I'm having. Yeah, so there we go. So it's better aligned now. Okay, so what I've done is I've got my image. Now you can actually toggle the job transparency. So as you can see here, it's kind of hard to see where the outline is. So if I turn it into a transparency, now I can resize my image, reposition my image, and we'll reposition it here. Okay, so there's my image. Okay, so if I print the image, it's going to be there. Now, once we've done this, we're going to clip this image to our slot cut pattern. So I just right click on it and select that. It's going to process it. And there you have it. The image is now clipped to my clipping path. Okay, so yeah, I may need to put a little bit of tape on the edges just so that way I don't get any overspray, but you're not going to have to print a rectangle. Okay, if you have to print a rectangle, you're going to have wasted ink in this area here, in this area here, and all this area here, because if you have to print this as a rectangle, this is all wasted space here. So you're going to waste, a few cents of ink, and doing it this way is actually going to save you not only time, because now I don't have to sit there and tape up the platen and tape up around the item all over the place, but it's also going to save you on ink. Okay, So there's that image. I'll bring in another image here to my other template. Again, we'll go ahead and rotate it. Okay, we'll go ahead and clip using the cut slot pattern. Now this will work with any pattern that you have. Okay, so not just shoes. You can use this for any type of pattern. That's the beauty of our product. Okay, and again, if I want to see it as a transparent, as an overlay, I can see that as that overlay. Okay, and you could get a little more fancy when you create the template. You can actually even create the holes where the eyelets are, so that way when it prints, it doesn't print where the eyelets are. Okay, so as you get better at it, you can drop that in there and you can actually knock those out as well. So very, very useful tool. Okay, and there you have it. The VPP configuration, okay, camera selection, cue setup, creating a template, a custom template, and clipping to template, using the shoe as an example. Again, our RIP is very, very powerful. Okay, so again, if this was a black shoe, for instance, and I wanted to place a black image on there, I could do that. So if I go ahead and get rid of that image, I'll get rid of this image as well. This is my graphics cue. I'm going to go ahead and update my cue background image here. And then I'm going to change it to the shoe platen as well. Okay. All right. All right, so there's my shoe again. And at this point, if I want to put a black image, so if this was a black sneaker, here unfortunately it's a white sneaker. I'm going to select my shoe pattern. I'll go ahead and bring in a black image anyway. So I'll bring in a dark image here. Go ahead and take that and go ahead and rotate it. Okay. So this is the image that I have. I want to place that on there. You know what? I want to have the alien a bit more in the shoe, so we'll adjust it so he's in there a little bit better. Yeah, it's not the best image, but if you notice, the black is already knocked out. Okay, so if I go ahead and clip this, okay, now it's clipped the image, and obviously here it's showing as the white, but wherever the white is would actually show the black. Okay, the black of the shoe. Okay, and again, if you want to see it as a transparent for the alignment, you can do so like so. Okay, the toggle job transparency. Okay, so this works with any colored shoes as well. So if you're using the color graphics cue and you're doing images for a blue shoe, for instance, you can do that. Not a problem. Okay. And there you have it. The costing, it's going to be set up the same as always as well. So it's going to take all that into account. If you need more information on the RIP itself, we do have our previous webinar, which is posted on our YouTube channel that you can use for reference, that covers cue configurations, knockout tools, all of the other features of our RIP. This particular webinar is only specifically for the optional visual print positioning templates and the clipping the templates. So there you have it, folks. If you have any questions about the product, again, feel free to email me at rickr, that's RICKR, at cadlink.com. More than happy to answer any questions that you have. If you want to purchase the option, the VPP option, we do offer a 10% discount currently until the end of the month. So if you want to take advantage of that, you will get a coupon code that you can utilize to purchase the VPP module. And there you have it, folks. Thank you for joining me today, and good luck with the product. And if you have any other questions, again, feel free to contact me at any time.